What's going on, and welcome to the MLB Q&A. My name is Tom Vecchio. I am here filling in for Jim Sanas. He is off today. I was here this morning to do the solo shot, break things down. Now we have a bit more time, a chance to take some questions about today's MLB slate. We'll run through things for whatever questions you guys have. Let's, we have some confirmed starting lineups. We can go over those. We have still waiting on some. Let's just do a quick recap of the weather because there's a lot going on. We already saw these games in Detroit get postponed. Not a big deal because those weren't on the main slate. We have these Miami-Philly games also not on the main slate. One of those games actually starting, I think, right now, 4:05 or 4:10 start in Philly. But a little bit of rain in Pittsburgh dealing with this. It could be impacted on either end. I think Stroman is a fine option tonight, as I said, kind of in the same light as Kyle Hendricks. Not a big strikeout pitcher, but certainly an easy matchup going up against the Pirates. The New York-Boston game, that should be fine. A little bit of weather. It is hot in the Northeast. Obviously, we can be expecting plenty of runs there. This is the big game. Texas at Toronto. It's going to be wet. Of course, this is all according to Kevin Roth. Followed him for many years. He is the guy, meteorologist you should be trusting. We're interested in Robbie Ray because he's a fantastic pitcher with a great matchup going up against Texas. Then, of course, we're interested in the Toronto Blue Jays hitters because they have a great matchup going up against Jordan Lyles for the Rangers. The Cincinnati game, I actually have a good amount of interest in Tyler Mahle tonight for the Cincinnati Reds going up against the Milwaukee Brewers because they have the sixth worst strikeout rate versus right-handed pitching this year, sitting at 25.5%. So a bit of interest in there. And then just some lesser issues as we move on. But starting off for tonight, on Twitch it's Mr. Jackie Moon. Do you know if you have to be on PC to use my FanDuel giveaway points? I'm having trouble using them on mobile. That's actually a good question. I don't know. I think you should be able to redeem them. If you're talking about the FanDuel points instead of the entry fee, like when you're saying, I want to enter this for $4.44, $9.99, whatever the price is, you might be able to switch at the bottom. Like if you're here switching to, enter with your FanDuel points instead of money, the points, if that's what you're asking. If not, I would just hit up the FanDuel support on Twitter to ask that if you can use it on mobile. That I don't have a specific answer for that. That would be the best place to go if you can't change it there. Michael Starr on YouTube is saying you can use the points on mobile as well. That would be, if you can, it's just a matter of finding the right spot. Diffuse on YouTube is saying if you could only play one between Salvi Perez and Whit Merrifield, who would it be? It would be Perez for me. You really want that home run upside. We want that power upside, and that's going to be Salvador Perez, $3,300. It's not like we're dealing with too much of a price difference. Whit Merrifield is more expensive, but Salvador Perez is the player with the more power. Let's bring up the Royals quickly. Just to make things, just to show it very, very clearly, they are going up against Keegan Aiken, who is a lefty. We will take off Seattle, put on Kansas City. I mean, this is strikingly clear with Sal Perez with a 391 ISO this year versus lefties versus Whit Merrifield, who's only a 146 ISO. We're dealing with the same salary. I'm going to call it a $200 difference, but that power upside, the multi-home run upside comes from Sal Perez. That's what helps you jump up to the top when it comes to tournaments. That's what I'm going with. Thoughts on Tyler Mahle tonight from Kyle on YouTube. I can't quite get the upper tier of pitchers due to the stacks that I'm using. Thanks. I actually wrote up Tyler Mahle tonight as an option that probably should be going under the radar. You can find any of my articles on numberFire.com. He's one of my under the radar picks for tonight. We'll bring up some of his numbers. He has a 29.5% strikeout rate this year. It's the third best on this slate. His walks are right there. His xFIP is among the best on the slate at 3.61. We flip to the pitching. And you're thinking, okay, Gausman, he's been super consistent. Robbie Ray has been super consistent, has a great matchup versus Texas. Kyle Hendricks, like I said, has a great matchup. He's not a big strikeout pitcher. Mahle is sitting down here under $9,000 at $8,800 is probably going to be going overlooked. If we flip to the Brewers real quickly, as I said, I think it's a 25.5% strikeout rate versus righties this year. I think it's the sixth worst in the league. Bring up the strikeout rate, get rid of that, get rid of this. Where is it? Yeah, sixth worst in the league, 25.5%. They strike out a ton, despite the Brewers being in first place in the NL Central. They strike out a ton, and they have an 89 WRC plus overall this year, which is 22nd in the league. Like, we should not be too afraid of Milwaukee. They have strikeouts. They're not super dangerous overall, whereas Milwaukee's they're a below average offense versus righties, and they strike out a ton. So, yeah, I love Tyler Mahle tonight. Under $9,000, I will be taking that anytime I can. Who's the low money underdog for starting pitcher tonight? So I'm assuming that means that's from Jade Webb on Facebook. I'm assuming that means, cheaper than this tier. Dylan Cease tonight is relatively in that same price range, $8,500. We know he has some good strikeout upside at 29.5% as well. Obviously, there's plenty of danger going up against that Houston lineup. I like Cease tonight. I'll be honest. I'm going to have some exposure to him. It's probably not the best idea because Dylan Cease is on my Dynasty season-long team, and I'm going to be starting him tonight. I do trust him. I like his upside. I like his skill. I think you can actually go to Eduardo Rodriguez for the Boston Red Sox tonight. Now, of course, the pitching environment isn't great being at Yankee Stadium, but we know that Aaron Judge is going to be out of the lineup for the Yankees. Have they their lineup confirmed? Let's just give this a quick refresh to see. Yankees. Okay, 3 minutes ago. Luke Voit placed on the 10-day IL due to a knee injury. That's great for my season-long team as well. Just going to be tilting about that, even though we haven't even gotten the slate started. But, look at this lineup for the Yankees. Glaber has not been super productive this year. Gardner, Gittins, this is not a great lineup for the Yankees. So if you were looking for a lower-priced pitcher tonight, who asked that Jade Webb did, Eduardo Rodriguez could be that answer. A 27% strikeout rate this year is solid. A 3.37 xFIP. I will certainly take that. Thoughts on Justin Turner tonight? I locked him in for the MVP in a lineup from it's Mr. Jackie Moon. Of course, you got to like any Dodgers player tonight being at Coors Field, whether it's him, whether it's Muncy, whether it's whoever else, Bellinger. I'll take any of them. Mookie Betts, of course. Chris Taylor, a player I've always been high on because he can give you, stolen base and a home run upside. Absolutely love that. Patrick Wilson on Facebook is asking, do you know if the Mets-Pirates game will play? That's kind of the one. That's one of the ones we are waiting on. No update on the weather there. It is a game that, is going to have some rain issues. It's sandwiched by rain on either end. Rain before, rain after. Like I said, I do like Stroman tonight due to the fact that he's probably not going to be super popular as his, I'm going to say type of pitcher, him, Kyle Hendricks, these type of pitchers that aren't strikeout heavy pitchers generally go overlooked because we know that strikeouts are king when it comes to MLB DFS. But we know that Stroman can go 6-7 innings, give up 1 or 2 earned runs, pick up the quality start points, and pick up the win points. So, no, we don't know as of now if the Mets-Pirates will play, but he is a pitcher I do have some interest in. Kyle Hendricks or Chris Flexen, who has the better upside for fantasy value tonight from DJ Cassier on Facebook. Flexen, from a point per dollar standpoint, where is he? He's $7,000. I'm not super afraid of the Angels lineup. I know he's been looking good as of late. These 2 most recent starts are certainly good, but the strikeout upside isn't necessarily there for him. And it's also not there for Hendricks, right? Let's make that clear. We're not getting a super amount of high strikeout upside from either Flexen or Hendricks. So from a point per dollar standpoint, I would lean with Flexen if you're going to be dropping down that far, just because Kyle Hendricks has to do so much more in order to pay off his fantasy value being $9,800. So I'll take Chris Flexen for Seattle instead of the much more expensive Kyle Hendricks. Do you prefer Mahle over Morton from Michael Starr on YouTube? Mahle over Morton. That's a really, really close call. Tyler Mahle, 800, Charlie Morton at 87. Let's just call him the same salary to make things equal. That's a really good question. I would actually take Charlie Morton for a couple reasons. They're $100 difference. We're just going to call them the same. Their strikeout rate is between them is, Morton's at 27, Mahle's at 29. Again, minor differences. The weather's the issue, right? If you can't pay attention to the weather and you're going to be setting your lineups and you might not be available, scattered thunderstorms, some kind of delay is likely. That's never super comforting if you're going to be rostering a starting pitcher. So, a few pop-ups in Atlanta in the summer is very normal. But if I have to choose between them, Morton's probably the safer one just because of the weather issues, and they are the same salary. So that's an issue. Hendricks or Cease, for Nick on Facebook, when will Abreu get going? When Abreu get going, that would be great because I've been rostering him probably way too much in DFS. But when it comes to Hendricks or Cease, push comes to shove, I think I'll take Cease because we want to be chasing that upside, right? Hendricks, again, it has a limited ceiling to get to. We're looking for the ceiling for Hendricks coming from the quality start and the win points against, yes, a very lackluster Arizona lineup, but he has to do a whole lot in order to reach value. Now, can he reach towards this upper limit? Of course, but it's going to be going 6 innings, giving up, 0 or 1 earned runs with 5, 6, 7 strikeouts, picking up the quality start and the win points. I would actually lean towards Cease because we know he has that strikeout potential with an almost 30% strikeout rate. And more importantly, Cease probably isn't going to be popular tonight going up against Houston. Everyone's going to say, on paper, it's Houston. I'm not going to roster this pitcher. So if Cease does go for 40 points, which he's shown the ability to do, you want to capture all of that upside in the best possible position, right? If Cease went for 40 or 50 points against Baltimore, if we look back, I would assume Cease was probably pretty popular against Baltimore because it's Baltimore and he has a high strikeout rate, right? You're not getting a leg up on the competition if he's super chalky that night. So I would actually take Cease tonight over Kyle Hendricks. Who's my favorite stack on tonight's slate? Outside of Coors Field, this is coming from Chia on Twitter /Periscope. Outside of Coors Field, it's going to be Toronto. Right, it's absolutely going to be Toronto with this massive 5.69 implied run total. We know the power upside that they have. I think I have Toronto pulled up here. Yeah, going up against Jordan Lyles for the Texas Rangers tonight. I mean, this power that they have, all righties in their lineup is absolutely phenomenal. If we look to Jordan Lyles tonight, specifically against righties, which is what we generally see from the Toronto lineup, which rolls out 8 righties on most nights because sometimes we see Kevon Biggio as the only lefty in their lineup. 2.08 home runs allowed to righties this year, a modest 19% strikeout rate, not anything we're worried about. A 37% fly ball rate, a 37% hard contact rate for Jordan Lyles versus righties this year is absolutely terrible. If you are new to the stream, if you haven't read some of my work on numberFire.com, the 40-40 line is what I generally look for when it comes to fly ball rate and hard contact rate allowed by pitchers. That's where we start to see them become very, very home run prone. It's not a hard and fast rule, but we do see Lyles approaching that line, and we should see Toronto as probably one of the best overall stacks. So they are my favorite stack outside of Coors Field. Are you still high on Robbie Ray, or does the rain steer you away from him a little bit from Diffuse on YouTube? If there was no rain tonight, Robbie Ray is my top pitcher. I said on the solo shot this morning, ranking these top pitchers on tonight's slate, Robbie Ray is my number one pitcher just because he has a better strikeout matchup for him compared to Gausman. Gausman is also more expensive. St. Louis is not a great offense. They just don't strike out as much as Texas does. So yes, Robbie Ray is still my number one pitcher on tonight's slate if the weather holds. Now, if the weather doesn't hold, I would actually then just pivot a lot of those shares to Kevin Gausman. Obviously, you have to work a few things in with the the salary changes being about $1,000 difference, but I'd be certainly shifting most of those shares to Gausman. I would then actually try and drop down a bit and then look to some shares for Tyler Mahle, again, if the rain holds. Moving down a bit further, what do you think about a Seattle stack tonight from Patrick Wilson on Facebook? Yes, I spoke about Seattle as one of the final 3 things on the solo shot this morning. And this is Seattle. This is their hitters in a split versus right-handed pitching this season. They're going up against Andrew Heaney tonight, who I'm going to say is a really, really average pitcher. If I could find his name real quick. So everyone looks at Heaney and they say, okay, a 28.5% strikeout rate. He doesn't walk a whole lot. He's got 3.85 xFIP going up against Seattle, who I think we would all agree a very average lineup overall. But look at this, 2.04 home runs per 9 allowed. Sure, he's got a higher strikeout rate against righties. Okay, it is what it is. A 44% fly ball rate, a 20% home run to fly ball ratio, and approaching 40% when it comes to a hard contact rate. Yeah, I have a lot of interest in Seattle, especially if they're not going to be popular tonight. I'm mainly a tournament player, right? Getting consistency out of a player is nice and all, but I'm always shooting for upside and upside combined when those players are not going to be popular, right? I love Toronto tonight. I absolutely love Toronto tonight. Toronto's probably going to be one of the chalkiest teams on tonight's slate outside of Coors Field. Okay, I think that much is clear. I love Toronto tonight. I'm going to have plenty of shares, but if a team like Seattle goes off for 8, 9, 10 runs, which any team in the majors can do, especially against the Angels bullpen, which is absolutely terrible, I want some shares of Mitch Haniger. I want some shares of Jake Fraley, even though this is a lefty-lefty split for Kyle Seager. Look at this. He has a 205 ISO in a lefty-lefty split. We also see a 52% fly ball ratio from Kyle Seager. So, he's getting the ball in the air against lefties, and he has a 43% hard contact rate. So, yes, I do like Seattle as a stack tonight to answer Patrick's question. How did the Padres grade out as a stack tonight, and who would you prioritize from Kyle on YouTube? The Padres tonight going up against Washington, going up against Eric Fetty. Fetty is here. Let's look at some of his splits. The Padres tonight, where are they when it comes to implied totals? They are – am I just not seeing them? My Padres right here, 5.03. It's been a long day, but going up against Eric Fetty for the Nationals, I mean, he's got good numbers overall. None of them are super impressive. Like, these strikeout rates, don't worry me. When we see a pitcher with like a sub 25% strikeout rate and he's giving up home runs, those are pitchers I generally like to target. This is the issue, though. He's not giving up a whole lot of fly balls, both under 36%. And he's also mainly a medium contact pitcher, which means he generates a lot of ground balls, as we see here, which, limits the potential damage against him. Of course, we can always get home runs out of any hitter. Let's flip to Seattle real quick. Away from Seattle onto San Diego real quick. Yes, we know that they have plenty of power in their lineup. If this means that they're not going to be popular, right? If we could shift those, like the average DFS player would shift those salary dollars for San Diego, onto a core stack, onto Toronto, who we could say are in better matchups, then yes, if the Padres are going to be slightly under the radar tonight with some expensive hitters up at the top, I would certainly look to Tatis or Machado or Trent Grisham as a 3-man stack. Are they my favorite stack on tonight's slate? No, but I do think they are certainly very viable in GPPs. I know it's not DFS from Mr. Jackie Moon, but I went for Hail Mary with Tatis, Vlad, Albies, and Mookie to all have at least 3 hits tonight. I assume this is a parlay you're talking about, because you said it's not DFS from Jackie Moon on Twitch. $2 for 6,700, all to have 3+ hits tonight. I mean, Vlad and Mookie, I think, are the best out of those. Mookie, of course, can do that at any night. Tatis also can do that at any night. Albies is interesting. Obviously, you're looking for some super long odds here. Michael Wacha, not a pitcher I'm afraid of. I mean, I think that's fine. Yeah, I'm certainly not against that. The all with at least 3 hits tonight, that's certainly long. But listen, 2 for 6,700, that's a fantastic ROI. From Brandon on Facebook, is Duffy worth the risk? I think Duffy's fine, right? We're not overly worried about the Baltimore lineup. The issue with Duffy, as he returned from his stint on his stint on the injured list, is his pitch count, right? I think he got up to, 70 some odd pitches in his last outing. Let's just double check that. Because him getting deeper into the game would be the issue, right? That's what we are ultimately worried about. His pitch count would be whatever under one of these tabs it would be. So he went 5 innings, 4 innings. I think it was 77 pitches in his most recent outing. I think that's the issue with Duffy. I'm not worried about the Baltimore lineup overall. We know that they have plenty of strikeouts. Again, a bit of a neutral park in Kansas City. I'm more interested in the Kansas City side, but $6,800 for Danny Duffy, a pitcher that is carrying a 26% strikeout rate, I think that's fine for him. I think it's certainly worth a player to mix into your player pool at sub $7,000, allows you to pay up for a Toronto stack, allows you to pay up for you want a fully stacked cores, whatever it might be. He's certainly a player you can do that. Is it risky from Patrick on Facebook, is it risky to roster Julio Urias tonight? No. He is a pitcher that I spoke about to close out the solo shot this morning at $8,900. Let's flip this to lefties this season for let's look for the Rockies. So Urias has shown a very solid season, solid ceiling throughout the season this year, reaching for some of these higher strikeout totals, reaching double digits multiple times. We know he has a solid strikeout rate, very solid pitcher overall. We look to the Rockies versus lefties this year, 92 WRC plus, certainly not great. Now, they don't strike out a whole lot, right? They're certainly in the lower portion, one of the better disciplined teams at the plate when it comes to facing lefties this season, but they're just an average team when it comes to power overall. So I actually do like Urias, as I mentioned this morning, and especially if he's not going to be popular. If this is a player that's going to come in under 10%, under 5%, just because everyone sees Coors Field and they say, oh, I'm not going to be rostering a pitcher that's at Coors Field. Well, of course, again, you want to capitalize on his potential upside. This is not a player you would want anywhere near your cash games, anywhere, near those types of lineups, your head-to-heads, whatever it might be. But mixing him into your player pool, especially when we can make the better case for Molly at a similar price tag. I know some people are going to be on Andrew Heaney tonight at a similar price tag. Just because he's going up against Seattle, I'm not on board with that. I'm actually fully fading Heaney tonight. He will not be in my player pool at all. So yes, I do like Urias tonight, tournament only. Do you think Morton, this is from Jenna on YouTube, do you think Morton will be popular? If so, what about a Ray stack in tournaments? I think Morton will be decently popular tonight. I don't think he's going to be one of the top 3 pitchers tonight. I still think that should lie with Robbie Ray, Gossman. And then I know Heaney's going to be popular. Right? He's going to be popular. I know why he's going to be popular. It's because of his strikeout rate. It's because of the matchup versus Seattle. I'm still not going with it. I'm fully fading Heaney tonight. So if Morton's going to be popular, will the Rays be a good stack? Yes. I'm not one to particularly pick on Charlie Morton due to the fact that we know he can limit the hard contact. We know they can keep the ball down, limit those fly balls. So the upside for him is generally not always upside against him is generally not always there. He's mainly a ground ball pitcher, mainly a medium contact pitcher, around or below the league average when it comes to home run to fly ball ratio. So he's not a pitcher I generally like to pick on, but if you get the indication that he's going to be popular, then sure, you want to gain some leverage that way, I think that's fine. DJ on Facebook says, Robbie Ray, Lance McCullers, Charlie Morton, or Chad Kuhl, and how do you feel about a Giants or Cleveland stack? So you're asking me to rank these pitchers, Ray, McCullers, Morton, or Kuhl, or should I be picking one of them? Because if I'm picking any of them, it's going to be Robbie Ray, all things can, if this rain holds out, it would be great if the rain holds out, because then I want Robbie Ray 10 times out of 10 just because he has shown the highest strikeout rate and the most consistency. Also, the matchup for him is easier than Lance McCullers going up against the White Sox. We know has – so you want me to rank them? Okay, so Ray, McCullers, Morton, and Kuhl. Ray, McCullers, Morton, and Kuhl. So Chad Kuhl, just due to the fact that he has this super low strikeout rate, is – not something I have a whole lot of interest in. We have seen the Mets lineup get a little bit better as the season has gone on, and they closed out June with a bit of power. So, not super afraid of the Mets, but Kuhl is definitely going to be last due to the lower strikeout rates. It's going to go Ray. It's probably going to go Ray, Morton, McCullers, and then Kuhl last, just because we want the upside that Ray brings. Morton, because his salary is lower than McCullers, and McCullers has a tougher matchup compared to Charlie Morton. And if you're asking me to decide between Ray and McCullers, I'm going to be choosing Ray 10 times out of 10 just because his matchup is far easier going up against Texas. So yes, it would be Ray, Morton, McCullers, and Cool in that order. And then how do I feel about a Giants or Cleveland stack tonight? Cleveland stack tonight, I think Sean Manaea is a good pitcher. I would certainly lean a bit more with San Fran going up against Adam Wainwright. I know Wainwright doesn't allow a whole lot of fly balls and or home runs. We'll bring up his numbers real quick. Mainly a ground ball pitcher, medium contact pitcher, doesn't have a whole lot of strikeouts, very modest at 22%, not allowing a whole lot of home runs this season. But I think that the power upside for San Fran is much more than Cleveland. We know that they are still dealing with a number of injuries. Eddie Rosario brings good power, although it's a lefty-lefties matchup. Jordan Luplow, like this bottom portion of the Indians lineup is not something I want to go to. Meanwhile, San Fran continues to impress people this year with the power that they have in their lineup. So, I would take the Giants over Cleveland. I know they're still dealing with a ton of injuries, but the power that they have, I would say, is better. All things considered, especially for their salaries, I think it would be a much better way to go. Rank the Dodgers from Diffuse on YouTube. Dodgers tonight. Is their lineup confirmed? Let's give this a quick refresh to see if the Dodgers lineup is confirmed. The Mets, Marvin Gonzalez, White Sox, Orioles, Blue Jays, Yankees. I don't think the Dodgers are confirmed yet. Still the Dodgers up here. Now let's just change this real quick. They are facing Senzatella tonight versus righties. Flip to the Dodgers. So Max Muncy is probably going to be super popular tonight, as you would expect. Muncy bats. So all things considered, including their salaries, let's bring up just the Dodgers. All things considered, Muncy, Betts, Turner are definitely my top three. Bellinger, especially for his salary, given the fact that he's just hasn't shown a whole lot this season. I know he's been dealing with a ton of injuries in and out of the lineup. Just that level of inconsistency, I hate to trust that, especially when, he's so expensive, right? And we can't make the case for him over Muncy or Betts. Maybe you make the case for him over Turner just because of the splits and you look at Bellinger's historic numbers versus righties, but I would still take them. I would still take all three of those ahead of Bellinger. And then, I think you make the case for probably Pollock or Taylor maybe ahead of Bellinger, just because of, what they've done this year, both being so good, especially to end the second half of the first half of the season for someone like AJ Pollock. So I would go Muncy, clear number one, Betts, Turner, and then a coin flip between Taylor and Pollock. Wayno is either going from Jackie Moon on Twitch. Wayno is either going to get smoked or shut down the Giants. A total toss the coin IMO. That's probably what's going to happen where, maybe the Giants come out slow the first game of the second half. And, Wayno's and his ground ball rate and his, some of that softer to medium contact rate, that's what shines through. Or the Giants and the power that they had in the first half shines through. Like there's probably going to be no middle ground. Yes, I would agree with that. So I think we're in a good spot. It's been about 30 minutes to go over things. Does Flexen hold up against the Angels? Sure. I'm willing to take a shot on Chris Flexen as a final question from Clint on YouTube. Does Flexen hold up for the Mariners going up against the Angels? I have a good amount of interest in him tonight at $7,000, strictly for GPPs, a few shares of him, because if we look at a projected Angels lineup, their lineup isn't confirmed. Let me just give this one final refresh before we close things out. No confirmed lineup for the Angels, but we know how good Ohtani is. Jared Walsh having a great season. David Fletcher, he's on this, 24, 25, 26 game hitting streak, whatever it is. He's got zero power, right? very consistent hitter, doesn't strike out a whole lot, is 0 power. This portion of the lineup does not scare me. So yes, I will take a few shares of Flexen tonight going up against the Angels. How do you feel about the Mets and San Diego? How do you feel about the Yankees, the Mets, and San Diego? Final question from Jerry on Facebook. San Diego, again, if they're going to be under the radar, I think it's fine. I don't love their match going up against Eric Fetty because, again, he's not a big fly ball pitcher. He's mainly a ground ball pitcher, medium contact pitcher, doesn't allow a whole lot of fly balls. Home run upside's not going to be there for them. And then salaries for San Diego hitters, you could easily move to Toronto, which we know has much more upside. The Yankees, of course, they're at home. But really, the Yankees, the bottom half of that lineup for the Yankees, wherever they are, like the bottom half of the lineup for the Yankees is not good. So if you're stacking the Yankees tonight, it's really only the first 4 hitters, and that's the only spot I would go for the Yankees. Their lineup is looking very thin tonight. And then the Mets, really not interested in them too much going up against Chad Kuhl. There's also some weather issues there. So, Kuhl doesn't give up the most home runs in the world. I think there's just better places we can go overall. All right, so that does it for the Q&A today. Jim will be back on Monday for the Solo Shot at 9 a.m. I may or may not be back in a few weeks when Jim is out again, but you can catch me on Twitter at DFS_Tom. Until next time, good luck in your contests.